Greenhouse gases that are major contributors to climate change will no longer be regulated by federal agencies after President Trump announced the rollback of a key environmental government finding today. Now, the move revokes the 2009 endangerment finding from the first Obama administration. It provided the legal and scientific basis for the government to essentially regulate the emission of gases like carbon dioxide and methane from sources including cars and power plants. CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang joins me now with more on this. Weijia, you spoke with Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Lee Zeldin about today's move. How did he explain this?
That's right. We also spoke to President Trump directly about it because we were in the room when he made the announcement. And the president is saying that there is no public health component to worry about. He called it a scam, all of the things that went into that 2009 scientific finding. It's important to note that the endangerment finding, it's not a policy that the Trump administration is reversing, but it is a scientific declaration that allowed the Obama administration to enforce other policies. So now the president is saying that should not be the case anymore and will ultimately also reverse many of the policies that resulted, for example, requiring vehicle emissions standards. And he says that is going to mean much cheaper cars for Americans and more than $1 trillion in savings of regulatory costs. But as you can imagine, environmental groups are really concerned about this because the reason that endangerment finding took place 16 years ago was because the EPA found that it could do harm to human health and the pollution. And we talked about this extensively with Administrator Zeldin, and here's a little bit of that conversation.
Are you offering complete assurance to Americans that removing this endangerment finding is not going to be detrimental to public health or the environment?
Correct. But first off, it's important to note that regardless of my opinion of that,
not opinion, but based on the data, based on the science.
Regardless of my opinion, regardless of yours, regardless of facts, I have to follow the law. And that wasn't followed for a long time by the Obama and Biden administrations.
So Zeldin is talking about the Clean Air Act of 1970, which requires the federal government to regulate air pollutants. But he says greenhouse gases are not explicitly named in that. So it's really an interpretation of law that they are using to reverse this endangerment finding. But as you can imagine, many environmental groups are already in the process of issuing legal challenges to this, and it is expected to be tied up in court for quite some time, which is why automakers are not jumping at the bit to immediately take action and change their manufacturing processes, at least for now. Chanel.
Yeah, it's not about the facts, it's about the law, he says. Something really powerful. Also today, I want to ask you about the Senate failing to move forward with this bill, Weijia, that would essentially fund the Homeland Security Department. So this obviously sort of sets up a partial government shutdown that's possible tomorrow. Is that happening? What is the White House saying about this?
Well, the White House is trying to signal that they are continuing to negotiate, that they want to strike a deal with Democrats. But the Democrats have been very specific in what they are asking for. 10 points that includes, as an example, that ICE officers remove their masks during these raids. And that is something that President Trump actually spoke about just today when he was asked about a potential government shutdown. And he said, look, you have to be able to protect our law enforcement officers. He raised the issue of masks and said that he understands that that's a point of contention, but also they should be able to protect themselves. And the administration has long said that these officers are doxxed or threatened whenever they are revealed their faces. But the point is that right now, as of this hour, there is not a deal, even though negotiations continue.
Okay, Weijia Jiang live for us at the White House. Thank you.